All right, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another amazing episode of Construction Champions Podcast, where we're burning the house down twice a week, every Monday and every Thursday. You can find myself here, but what you really show up for is our guests, and you'll find amazing ones here. Twice a week, we're talking to the leaders, the disruptors, the mindset shift people in the industry. It's what excites me. I have a fly flying around. I just saw the damn thing fly by me. But that's not going to stop the show. Eric, it is great to have you here today.
Hey, Ron. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, I'm excited for our conversation, but before we dive into it, why don't you tell all the champions out there a little bit about yourself and what excites you about the construction industry?
Yeah, no problem. So my name's Eric. I'm the founder and CEO of SubBase, and I am a construction-born third-generation builder who actually studied construction in college and decided to take the leap of faith from the building operations on the sub and GC side all the way into the construction tech side. So what I love about it is just the love and passion that I've had for it since I was a kid. I've been in the industry for 15 plus years, and obviously seeing three generations go through the building process, it's been amazing.
I love it. Some of the best people, some of my favorite conversations are people that were born and raised in the
Yep.
industry. I wasn't born and raised in the industry. But I was born around business and working on cars. And when I got in the Marine Corps, I ended up in construction. So I've spent about the same amount of time, 15 years working in construction, but I love it. Guys that have come from the industry, it's amazing. So I'm excited for our conversation today. And I'm going to ask the $1 million question. And that is, what makes a construction champion? Hey, construction champions. It's your host, Ron Nussbaum here. And I want to talk to you about how you can automate all of your marketing. We've had so many people on here talk about getting the systems in place. Well, we have partnered with Build 12 and Construction Champions podcast. Les O'Hara, the founder, what really excites me is his 30 years in the industry. And now he's built a system to be able to nurture your leads and continue to utilize that. I personally use the system myself. Build 12 is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of value in there, and it's a way to start getting away from Angie's List and all of that kind of stuff and start actually creating your own leads every day and have a system for them. So go on our website, check out the show notes, go check out Build 12 and what it can do for the front end of your business today. It's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend going and meeting with Les and his son, Devin, and talking to him about what they built for their own business so the rest of the industry can take benefit from that. Here on Construction Champions, we're all about helping each other out. And what is better than contractors helping contractors? I say nothing. So let's go take this to the next level. Go check out Build 12. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Les or his son, Devin. We're here to help. We want to continue to grow the industry.
Yeah, so it's the passion for building. What I've seen growing up was, and I still do it today with my son, was every project that my father or grandfather built, no matter where we were, he was always pointing out, hey, we built that, we did this, we did that. And no matter what store or building we walk into, his head, and I figured I'd do the same thing, was always looking up. And it's something that unless you're actually in the building process or in the industry, you look at things differently. That's what we love about it, is the passion that people have for building.
I love it because the passion is what matters. Like, sometimes I feel like we can lose that low when we're on a shitty project or something's just not going right.
100%.
That passion can, it almost feel like it gets sucked out of us, but it's what keeps us going and it's what keeps the industry alive.
Yeah, and we've seen too the same thing of the passion was every job that we were building too, and I was building on the commercial side was new. It was exciting. You don't just come into an office and look at, stacks of paper, although sometimes there are stacks of paper. It was new, it was exciting, and everything was custom. And that's what was really enjoyable about coming to work every day.
Custom, but that can also mean some headaches along the way for sure.
Oh, yes, for sure. Exactly.
Awesome, man. So what that passion that was instilled in you, I'm sure, just coming up through construction. Like you said, you're doing the same thing with your son. We just moved a couple years ago, and one of the things that my wife said when we landed here in North Carolina was, man, what are you going to do now? Because now when we drive, you haven't worked on anything around here. You're going to have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, look, the cool thing about building in, I guess, not just in local areas is when you go to different areas, it's also cool to see like how things were built in other areas and in different locations and the, topography alone. We build in South Florida, right? And in South Florida, you dig 2 to 4 feet into the ground and you have to bring out dewatering pumps to just build foundations. In North Carolina or in the Northeast or anywhere else, everything's different. So even though maybe you haven't built somewhere different, if you have that builder's mentality, it's pretty cool to see how people think through the process of what it takes to actually build in other locations.
Yeah, I mean, I immediately got connected with guys around me here, and it's nationwide, it's different. And I'm sure with what you're doing now, you get even more of a feel for what it's
Yes.
like nationwide. Because now with what I do, same kind of same circuit construction softwares, I get to
Hmm.
talk to guys all over the United States, Canada, and some other countries. And it amazes me how similar it is and how
Hmm.
different it is at the same
Yes.
time.
Yeah, it's cool. So, we have clients in other parts of the country, and a lot of structures, right, are built with timber, wood frame structures. In South Florida, where we started and where we've originated, where I got my call it boots dirty in the ground with building, it's all concrete block and steel and masonry, and that is like a totally different way to build because of the stringent wind codes and because of what happens in South Florida. But still, the process of ordering the materials is the same workflow, but obviously the materials and the way that it's done is a little bit different. But yeah, it's cool to see how that works.
Awesome. And so I want to dive into the software side of this,
Sure.
because I love bringing on other guys that are out there helping move the industry forward when it comes to software, because we're an industry that needs it badly. And we
Hmm.
need it from guys like us that have lived the problem and understand it and might not know how to build the software, but we understand what software for the construction industry should look like.
Yep.
What for the guys that are listening, which is estimated 50% of them that are using no technology, like
Mm.
what do you say to them to help get them over that hurdle?
Yeah. So, you know, anything that's related construction and software in one sentence, there's a little bit of hesitation, right? So how we typically get them over the hump up front is, well, first of all, we have to understand like how they're doing it today. How are you ordering materials today? And where are the problems in that process that we can help not just simplify, but optimize? And what we learned was that you can't change things drastically. You can't come into a business and tell them that for the last 30 years, they're ordering materials the wrong way. But what you do is you really understand their process and you figure out how to wedge into the workflow and slowly diminish the amount of manual entry and give them a better experience, but keeping the same feel. That's how you get construction technology adoption, is not just coming in and flipping it over on its head. It's understanding the workflows because there are nuances to it and then building into to really expand on that. And that's what we've seen has been successful.
I love that, because that's how technology is adapted in any industry, not just construction. But I see too many guys are like, it's all or nothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have, like what you said, it's just like completely just disrupt everything and change it all, or we're not going to utilize anything. And that's the wrong process. Construction or just technology adaptation is a long road. It's
Yeah.
not something that just happens overnight. It can take up to a year of getting everything all worked out, all the bugs to where everything's running very smoothly. But that's not how it's looked about.
Yeah.
we're in an industry that it takes a while to see the results of what we build, but when we buy a product, we expect to see the
Hmm.
results that day. And that's not
Exactly.
exactly how that works.
Yeah, and there's certain things that you can do to show what we call, quicker ROI, or return on investment. Really, like implementing it in is something we dial into very much. But the biggest thing that we share with our users is and prospects is, hey, every project you build is custom, just like you talked about it. There is no two similar buildings or projects. Even if you have two similar projects on the same site, there could be underground issues that you just don't know about. So everything's custom. This is a custom build industry. And so how do you really play to that? You got to understand the flexibilities, understand how different trades purchase in different ways, the lingo on materials, the vendors. So there's a lot that goes on there that we try to help our users who are engaging today and those that are actually interested to see how we can help digitize their workflow.
That's awesome. And what are you finding as you're out there digitizing the workflow?
Yeah, we're finding that there's a lot of similarities into the big problems, which is let's call it for like the specialty trade contractors who we focus on a lot. Those are the ones ordering a lot of materials. There's commonalities into just the disparate issues they're having, right? Be it everyone trying to get requests from the field, the lingo that's being used in the field that a vendor who's supplying that material may not understand, the issues of just tracking delivery tickets, reconciling invoices back into a three-way match with their purchase order. And ultimately what we saw was most people don't really know if they're making money on a job in this world until months after they have their materials reconciled and input back into an accounting system. Big companies that are doing a lot of purchasing volume have no clue if they are making money this month or not until months later. And that's where we see the biggest commonality that we were pretty surprised to see, even coming from the industry.
Yeah, no, that is, it's crazy how how the books end up running in construction and trying to get everything. And it can be hard when you have different
Mm-hmm.
projects, different department, all of these moving pieces. So I love that you have a software that's going into that understanding that there's these different moving
Yeah.
pieces, and how do we take advantage? Because I'm a believer that there's a lot of things that we do in construction that you can take advantage of from a software perspective that are typically looked at as negatives. But if you understand the workflows, understand what's happening, it can become a strength of what you do.
Yeah.
And that's where like just software companies miss the point, because they just try to make software and they don't understand the workflows. They don't understand what's going to happen, and it creates more headaches than anything.
Yeah. And that's really the key to construction software is like really understanding the workflows and especially where we are is understanding the relationships. It is like such a relationship heavy industry, especially on the material side. And that's something we know very well is it's not, an Amazon shopping experience. I don't go on Amazon to find some materials, click my cart to checkout, and then boop, it just shows up. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of different workflows in place. And so understanding that upfront takes you like experience. It doesn't just take, you're not going to go read a book off the shelf to figure out how this is done.
Yeah, no, and I think that's when guys that are listening, like that's what you have to start to think about as you're looking at software solutions and stuff, is like who's behind these companies. I know I've been on here, I'm a very anti Silicon Valley guy. Like I just think they have wreaked havoc on the construction industry by
Yeah.
trying to force software that wasn't necessarily built for the construction industry, and it jaded a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I'm heavy on like just do your research. I don't care what software you use. Go find something that was built by somebody from this industry for this industry. Like that's what matters.
Yeah, I think that that's like a big thing that we saw. So I came from obviously the construction world, and I was dealing with software at the old company I was at, who actually gave me the opportunity to build what we built today because we saw the issues in the field and the office with subcontractors and the material workflows, and we we built it from the ground up with real construction brains, but we brought other brains to the table who had that Silicon Valley expert when it came to the technology and the software. I
Mhm.
think the two are very powerful combination. I think that most construction, tech companies are now starting to see that they need some guidance from founders who have that background in the space that can, talk to the field, talk to the office, and really be able to bridge the gap. But definitely, we've seen a shift towards the Silicon Valley-esque, let's call it mentality, wanting to bring more construction folks into the mix. I mean, Procore did it phenomenal. They figured
Mhm.
out pretty early that we need to bring more construction brains to the table. And they've done that, and they've done a great job with that. And so that's kind of a premise that we think is very powerful.
Yeah, they did a fan and still continue to do a fantastic job on
Hmm.
creating that over the environment where everybody can thrive.
Yes.
And I think for a long time that wasn't necessarily the case. It still isn't. I still take calls from last week. I had two calls with two different people that are outside of the construction industry that want to bring their software into the construction space. And I just told them they're wrong. Like that,
Hmm.
you're making a mistake because you don't understand what it's really going to take. Even though you have successful enterprise software, the chances of that traversing over to the construction space,
Yeah.
it's not probably a good fit. And then you're immediately going up against the big dogs. And it's
Yeah.
like, you guys need to think this through a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I think there's a lot of like big software out there too that I think is working now, but what happens is if one person has a bad experience, it then affects the next company that's going to come in that has a great solution because they're so afraid that, hey, I did this one, it worked for me, but I don't want to take the risk and chance that this doesn't work. And that's kind of some of the challenges we've seen as well of other companies.
Yeah, I say a lot of times that the construction industry is jaded because we're
Hmm.
at heart early adapters. I mean, it's why everybody has like the latest, greatest tools. But that first wave of technology into the construction industry was stuff that was trying to be reworked to
Yep.
fit construction. Those
Hmm.
guys jumped on board, and like you said, it didn't work out because it would have never, it didn't matter. It was set up for failure from the beginning. And now that is one of the things that staggered the adaption of technology in construction because you had a lot of guys that were just like, nah, I already tried. Like, I'm not going
Yeah.
down that road again. But now we're
Yeah.
at a pivotal time where we're seeing it really change. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah, and a lot of the older softwares that are still around, like they're bolting on other pieces of software to try and make it fit. But when you really do some digging to understand how it's built, it's very difficult to take these and tie them in versus building, a more modern platform from the ground up,
mhm.
more flexibility. You can actually control what you need to be, to design it for construction. And obviously you know, with the introduction of artificial intelligence, it makes it a lot better building from the ground up for a purpose in construction versus an older software that you're trying to bolt things onto, which as we've seen has been pretty troublesome.
Yeah, it's
Great work with it.
it's like doing that new build versus doing a remodel.
Yeah,
Most people just
exactly.
want to bulldoze the house
Exactly.
and build a new one because it's a
Yeah.
lot easier.
Hmm. Yeah. And then they see the price and they're like, whoa, like the price to do this new, wow, I can still stick with my old thing and it's, a quarter of the price. Like that's really what the challenge is too.
Yeah, and I bet with what you guys are doing, you guys probably got some really, if not already out, but some really meaningful use cases for AI within what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so we do. We're very heavy into artificial intelligence, and we look at artificial intelligence as not as a full problem solver. It solves a lot of problems, but it's still, being used to accommodate the user's end goal, which is make my life easier and reduce a lot of the manual entry. But you're never going to automate purchasing to a point where it's just click a button and then boop, everything just happens. Is a very relationship driven, workflow driven, platform. And we have seen though that artificial intelligence can come in certain aspects and make things a lot easier, make things not suck so much when it comes to, reconciling invoices by line item or being able to take an RFQ from a from a vendor's PDF and be able to extract the information to pair with what you want pricing on. Those are some of the things we're working on. And then obviously a lot more down the future that we're going to be doing, but it's a powerful tool if used in the right circumstance.
Yeah, I think, everybody can slap AI on everything, and that's a mistake. But I think like the ability to gather data, like software, we create so much data in areas and so much like to be able to go in and spot trends, to figure stuff out. Like I think in construction, that is where AI will be one of the most powerful things. But it takes companies that are willing to go make the investment, learn how to use technology, use it right, and get all the information in there. And when you have that huge data set and you can just send stuff in there, I say stuff, but send artificial intelligence in there and ask intelligent questions, and it can sift through years of this information that's based solely on your business. It's going to be powerful what we can get out of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like one of the biggest use cases too that we're solving for is, the language barrier between the field and the office, right? What they call something, and then you loop in a vendor. A vendor calls something totally different than a 2x4 piece of lumber. So that is something that, artificial intelligence will eventually solve for. And that's some of the things that we're working on today is how do you make that so seamless that the field guy can stick to what he calls that 2x4 lumber. The office knows what it is when they have to potentially reconcile an invoice, and then a vendor can stick to his system, but still be able to correlate the two.
I love it, man. That's awesome. That is awesome. So for all the construction champions out there, if they wanted to connect with you, follow you, learn more about what you guys do, where's the best places for them to do that?
Yeah, so we're extremely active on LinkedIn. So they can follow our LinkedIn page through our website, or they can go on LinkedIn. Our website is SubBase, SUBBASE.io. And LinkedIn, they can follow myself. They can follow our page on SubBase. But between that and our website, that's where you can find us. We are extremely active and very responsive. So that's probably the easiest.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for taking the time to be
Ron.
Construction Champions.
Of course, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Construction Champions, another episode in the bag where we talked about all kinds of great stuff. Heard from a third-generation builder that's out there continuing to not just build, but to build the future of construction. And at the end of that conversation, we were going back and forth on the power of what artificial intelligence could bring to the industry. I think it's going to revolutionize the long term, but we have to revolutionize the current to get there. And that's up to us as being construction champions, is getting out there, taking the steps to bridge the adoption rate in the construction industry and move us to not being 10, 15 years behind when it comes to technology, but becoming at the forefront. And like I say on here all the time, is that the construction industry should be in the conversations with all these other industries. From a technical standpoint, it should be as well. But it's up to us to finally just say, hey, the buck stops here. Now is the time. It's 2024. Let's go out here and build very efficient businesses that we understand everything that's happening in them. Technology is built as a tool to work with us. We have to start looking at it as that. It is just another tool in our tool belt that makes our job easier, our employees' jobs easier, everybody's job easier. So Construction Champions, make sure you go out, you check out all of our fantastic sponsors. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.
Introducing BuilderComms, the future of construction management. Built by industry veterans, our platform simplifies your workflows and boosts efficiency. From field operations to leadership, we've covered it all to help you sleep better and enhance your projects. With BuilderComms, expect reduced errors, save time, and exceptional outcomes. Join the thousands of builders and contractors revolutionizing their processes and achieving greatness. Discover more about us at buildercomms.com.